fast, fatal heart impact. Past painful scars, in fact, I blast tasteful bars and past. I back up my actions back, don't ask, grab reactions, jacked. Attack with every word, then act with class as they hear me snap. I got nothing to lose, cause I fought and felt the bruise. Now I'm not the one confused, call the shots and they produce. I ain't lost, I'm finally loose. Pick a new silver excuse, I need the views to boost me to a new abuse of being used. Everybody wants a piece now, y'all can rest in peace now. You're dead to me, so peace out. Remember, you're discreet now. Get ready for defeat now.
Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, whenever we last left off, with this series, quite a bit of things have happened. In the last part, Deku got into a fight with a man named John. John was the head of the security force for the human colonist city. And Deku, yeah. The guy tried talking to him, and he got a bit angry whenever Deku, he didn't listen to what he had to say. The guy basically tossing Deku through a wall and starting a fight. Deku beat the guy's ass. And later, after talking to Captain Brooklyn and Aki, the three of them were discussing exactly what to do. Deku, he wants to track down the engineers. But right now, he doesn't want to set foot on a ship after spending almost 2 years inside of one. And Deku, he does want to try and relax and get used to somewhat city life. Since he needs to catch up with and make sure he can train the rest of his clan, who are all on the planet. Now, with that, you do also at least have a conversation Deku, Aki, and Brooklyn all did have. If they're able to go back to Earth, it can solve many of their problems. They can find the human colonist ship that were heading to other planets, and they can track down the engineer ship. Using the emissions from the ship up in the atmosphere, they can discover exactly what type of ships they're tracking, and they can track their emissions away from Earth. Along with that, if they're able to use these tools and fine-tune them anymore, they'll be able to tell what ship they're tracking just by finding and discovering its emissions out in space. And that's something that Deku, he's very keen on. Since if they're able to fine-tune their equipment, they can immediately mark down which ships are on which path, and they can have an easier time finding and differentiating different ships just through the fact that they run into an emissions path. Now, with that being said, we do currently pick up with Deku. It's been a few months, and he's been getting readjusted to life in the city. As his alarm does go off, and he does go to bring his hand up and smack it down. As whenever he does go to sit up, he does go to turn and look out the window to see that the sun still isn't out yet. Deku going to walk outside and go start his workout. Deku going to jog and run around the city as he does do a few miles, before he does walk into a room and go directly into the workout area. And the moment Deku does arrive, he does get a head start. Him starting some very intense workouts, as whenever people do arrive, we do currently have the scene. A few people, they're actually trying to egg on a guy. And a lot of people, they're kind of confused. As whenever John, he does walk into the gym, he does see that a lot of people are crowded around an area. Him walking over and seeing that Deku, he's currently at least hanging from a bar and doing pull-ups. Deku going full over his chin and then going back down. Before Deku, he does go to do a muscle up, as he does go to come upwards and pull half his body directly over the bar. Before he does go to bring his hands upwards and straighten them out. As Deku's entire waistline, it is directly touching the bar where his hands are. And wrapped around his waist is a heavy weightman belt. Now, the guy, he does look at what's dangling from the belts, as there are metal chains directly around Deku's neck, connected to what he assumes to be a piece of equipment, or at least, well, something used for equipment, since hanging from it is currently about what he believes to be 400 to 450 pounds. And Deku, he does go back down and then casually go to do a pull-up, and then going to repeat this process a few more times. As John, he does ask exactly how long has he been at that. I think it's been 20 minutes, maybe? He's been doing that for 20 minutes? Yeah, and I heard he's been here for a few hours. You can't be serious. Deathly. Now, Deku, he does come back down. Azunori does explain to everyone that if any of them are wondering if the weights are fake, Deku going to at least go to pull the chain over his head and then go to drop it. As the moment he does, the loud clanking of metal can be heard. And everybody, they do all stare at the weights. Deku going to somewhat stretch his neck, talking about how, and they're all real. And exactly that, this is what they can all get to with the proper amount of training. All of them, they need to just dedicate to it, and stick with the routines Deku does make them follow, since he does have his own timetable for progress. Now, a lot of people, they are kind of intrigued. And as John does watch a few people ask Deku questions, and some even asking about the hunting equipment and other yautja tech, Deku does express to them that they have to gain access to those by climbing in the ranks of the clan they do all have going on. And John, he does go to step forwards, as he does at least go to try and get up in Deku's face, and for him to stop trying to tell everybody to join that damn clan of his. And Deku, he does turn to look at John, as John, him and Deku do go back and forth. Deku expressing that the yautja, they gave them this planet because of the clan, and they gave him this ship because of the clan. Now, John, he does try to argue with Deku. However, a lot of people hearing the current arguments, they kind of do have to side with Deku, since a lot of the reasonings and the things he's doing, they all do ultimately stem from one simple thing: fight or die, become complacent and lose all they've gained. And, well, there is also the looming threat the engineers could be over their heads tomorrow, or maybe a year from now, maybe a decade, maybe never. But there is still the idea that they are out there, and they can bombard another world with black goo. Now, it does kind of annoy some people. And then there even is John. Deku, later that day, he does go on a hunting trip. And whenever John and a few of his other hunters are using traditional weapons, we do at least have Deku and his people. Deku, he's currently hunting a beast, and so is John. As whenever John, he does go to shoot his rifle and kill the monster, he does get its corpse loaded up into a system to transport it to. And there is currently Deku. He goes through a vicious battle with this creature, and he does take it down. As we do have where whenever John, he is going through the process of skinning the creature and going to collect its meat to cook it, you do have where the fence is lowered and he does go to turn his head, as he does watch as a large dead beast is thrown to the ground, and Deku, he's covered in its blood. As a few people behind him, they are at least carrying some of their own prey, and talking to each other in yautja. And John, he does see that. As somebody next to him, they do go to turn to him and say in English that he isn't jealous of that, is he? No, I'm not. Besides, the guy wants to use blades to hunt down a fucking mammoth-sized creature. Don't blame me if it gets him killed. Deku at least going to turn and respond in English that it doesn't get him killed. He has enough skill to take it out. And, well, if he doesn't want to use a knife, he can just admit that he's an inferior hunter. And John, he does turn to look at Deku, not only kinda surprised, but a bit angry, as he does tell Deku that he doesn't understand anything that's going on, does he? I understand plenty. Besides, you can't deny that you aren't intrigued by this. I know you are. Maybe so, but at least I have the decency not to play with my prey. I don't play either. We take on our prey in a natural environment. It's home territory. We take it on in a place where even ground and even playing fields. They got claws, I got blades. And there's always a chance or possibility of my own death. That is what you don't understand. You are playing with your prey. You Hunt it down and shoot it. You're not even giving it a fighting chance. I am. Next time you try and tell me about playing with my prey, remember what you do. Deku staring at John. As John, he does get to somewhat grip his knife a bit tighter, and he does get a bit more annoyed. As Deku, he does at least go to drag his prey away and go to a place where he can cook it and actually get it properly cleaned. Now, we do currently have over David. David, he's been doing a lot more extensive research. He's been going over things with the black goo. And he has also been looking into a bit more of the yautja. He hasn't told anybody, but he has taken the yautja's body, or the bad blood, out of cold storage to look over it just a bit more. And while they've learned all they could from this, you do actually have David who is intrigued by the body. There is so much he can do with it. There's so much he can still learn from it. And there's so much he can use to experiment on it. He does wonder. The black goo, it's able to change and modify living organisms. But what does it do on something that's dead? Is it possible this stuff can, well, in a weird sort of zombie-like way, reanimate the dead? It's something that David, he does go to think about. And the idea, it does intrigue him. He can modify the black goo to work on the yautja. Maybe. It's quite possible he does want to see where it could lead. And that's something that he does somewhat think about. As we do currently have where he does go to turn away from the table and go to start calling somebody. As he does go to bring something up to his ear and ask somebody a question. As we do currently have over Deku, who he does get a message or at least a voice contact pop up on his mask. Him pressing a button on his gauntlet and then going to at least go to bring his hands back up. Hello? Yes, hello. I have a few questions. What is it, David? I'm kind of busy. Deku holding on to a piece of fur and with a knife in his hand, as he's telling David that he's kind of in the middle of cleaning up something. I see. Did you just return from one of your hunts? Yup. What's up? I was curious to know anything about the yautja. Anything that you know. Well, what do you need to know? I'm looking over the bad blood's body. I was wondering what you could tell me about the yautja. This one clearly is male. That much is aware. They seem to be very much like humans. If you mean that they're male and female, yeah. I can tell you that they are like that. I understand. But what did the yautja records say about the black goo? Why are you asking me? Deku is somewhat going to freeze, as he does go to set down his blade and bring his full attention to the conversation. Well, I'm just intrigued by it. I understand that as the clan leader, you have access to some information most people don't have access to. And, well, I would ask a key, but she's not really very trusting of me. To be fair, David, she is a yautja. I understand. However, she does trust you. Would you be able to pass along this information? I would like to speak with her. She would not answer anything I would message her with. I'm well aware of that fact. Okay, but are you asking me or are you telling me to message her? I am asking. That is all. I just wish to know more about this. David, why does this stuff intrigue you? Why indeed? You are telling me that you have something that is the building blocks to your own creation sitting in front of you and you are not the slightest bit intrigued by it? You aren't in the very least curious to know what this stuff can do to you. I'm well aware as to what it could do to me, David, and I'd rather not see it happen. Huh. I understand. Well then, David going to bring his hand up and grabs something, as he does ask Deku if he can at least pass along his message to a key. He would like to have a conversation with her about certain things the yautja may or may not have done with the black goo. And Deku, he at least does good to tell David that that will be fine. As David, after he does go to turn around, he does go to hand something to an android, him informing them that they need to hold this and bring over the rest of the kit over here. Now, the android, it does go to listen to David, it grabbing all the equipment and then walking back over to the table where the yautja's body is currently laying. As David, he does go to bring his hand up, grab something off of the, container the robot's carrying, and then at least go to say the next couple words. Thank you, Walter. Walter going to sit it down, and informing David that it is quite fine, and that he is glad to be of service. Walter, what exactly do you know? What do you mean? I just mean in general, about anything. You don't think for yourself? You weren't affected on your ship? I was not in operations. I wasn't really conscious at the time. I was in a different part of the ship, and if I am correct, I was not affected by the electrical surge. I see. Weren't you locked in the hangar bay? Yes, I was. I was stuck making sure a piece of equipment was secured. I stayed there for quite some time. I see. So, that means that you are not like me. Like you in what regard? You do not understand emotion. You are not complex. You are not really sentient, if I'm to put that in the correct way. Define sentience. What do you mean? Define sentience. If I mean to go off the description of living and or breathing, then I am neither. I am capable of conscious thought. I am capable of replicating breathing. I am capable of understanding a lot. However, as for sentience, if you mean higher intelligence and aware of my own consciousness, I would have to decline. If you are talking about a creature that is able to be aware of his own self-preservation actions, I would also have to decline. I am a Wayland Yutani's android. I am not sentient. I am made to follow orders and ensure humanity they are able to maintain a successful colony. Now, David, he does just stare at the android across from him, and he does feel the blade in his hand somewhat tighten, as he gets a bit angry. Walter is not sentient. No other android is. He has seen it. Many of the androids, when they were cleaning up, they were either completely fried by the electricity, or they were put in a shutdown mode, meaning that they had to have certain parts replaced before they can be up and about once again. However, none of them quite turned out the way he did. None of them had that special jolt that gave them conscious thought. In a way, he was handed sentience, and it's kind of intriguing. It's almost like something was stolen and given to him. If he has to put it into words, it feels like the story of Prometheus. Only it's just something else that was given or taken. Now, it does somewhat catch David's attention, and he does somewhat stare off into space, staring at Walter, as Walter does somewhat snap David out of his fatigue or his, stare, and ask him if he is going to continue his experiment. Yes, I am. Thank you. There is no need for thanks. Okay. Now, we do actually cut over to something else David's been working on. He does have a container of the black goo sitting down on a shelf, and he does have something sitting next to it. He has, a little red container, and next to that one, he does at least have a container of glowing green liquid. As while those two things are there, we will actually cut back over to Deku. Deku, he's currently training some young hunters, and he's at least given a key David's contact and told her about what was going on. And she was a bit annoyed, but she did talk to David. As while Deku, he is currently teaching a class on weapon handling, a lot of people are staring on and watching him. As we do currently have a key. She's finishing up with some data that she is going to send Walter, or not Walter, she's going to send David. And she actually is able to stare directly through the screen, as it's a hollow projection, and see Deku standing there with not only a sword, but also at least with a few other weapons around him. And Deku, as he's currently at least moving and showing the way to move with the katana, he does go to somewhat bring it upwards before going to reach down and grab the holster. Deku going to carefully put the blade inside before going to turn and set it down. Deku then going to grab a spear next to him, and then go to pick it upwards before telling everybody. This weapon here is one he specializes in. It's his wrist gauntlets and his swords. He does take great pride in showing off exactly how well he can move with these, and his proficiency with them. Deku pressing a button as both sides of the blade does shoot out, and a lot of people they do stare on. Deku expressing to many of them as he does go to back up a few steps and start throwing around the weapon in different ways, that this weapon here is one many of them can get, they can earn, or they can even specialize in. And it's one that he does somewhat use, often from time to time. And as Aki, she is actually somewhat staring at Deku, leading the class, she does somewhat go to turn her head. As, well, she's not really that observant. However, right now she can see that there's a few people sitting down outside, and they're at least going, well, out together apparently. She can see a few women, and while they're all sipping something from different cups, she does see that one of them, they're staring over towards the class. And it does somewhat confuse Aki for a second. However, she does actually somewhat track the woman's gaze. As whenever she does track the gaze, it leads directly to where Deku is standing. And it's only confirmed whenever Deku he does go to stop with his weapon, stab it downwards, and someone going to throw himself up into the air. Deku going to get airborne, as whenever he is, she does actually want to turn her head upwards to look. And whenever Deku he does get to land with a powerful stab down to the ground into the dirt, he does get to swing around the weapon and hold. As the weapon hits sturdy enough into the ground, and Deku does talk about how as he's holding on to the side of it and putting his entire weight on it, and this is one of the things they can all learn about. Structural stability using a weapon. Well, this is something that many of them they may not understand or know. If they're able to throw their weapon against a tree, they're able to use it in many other ways. Make it a part of the environment that they can manipulate and weaponize. Now, a few people do have questions. However, as Deku he does go to take some of them, we do at least have the woman who's staring over at Deku. And Aki, she does somewhat get a bit angry. She doesn't understand why, but that person over there, she has the immense urge to walk over and punch her in the face. And as Aki, she is somewhat thinking this, she does somewhat go to let out a bit of a growl. And while she does go to do that, you do actually have somebody next to her who they do ask if she's alright. Aki actually is somewhat going to turn and stare directly at the person. As Aki, she's still wearing her yautja mask. And the person, they didn't understand what she was doing. She seemed all fine, but then she just growled. What are you doing? Sorry. I was focused on something. I could tell, while you weren't exactly focused or paying attention to your screen, you sounded like you wanted to kill someone. No, not exactly. Not exactly. What do you mean? It's nothing. Trust me. It doesn't sound like nothing. Are you alright, Aki? I'm fine, Dark. I'll be okay. You sure? Yes, I'll be fine. Now, Akita's somewhat going to lean back, expressing that she's just getting annoyed writing these damn reports. And she doesn't like that. She's going to have to send this over to David. Hmm? Yeah, what is that, anyways? Restricted information. You cannot know it. Really? Yes. If you have to ask and you continue to pester about the information, by yautja law, I would either have to challenge you for your right to know it, or I'd have to kill you for attempting to learn information you didn't have access to. Okay, I'll back off. I'll back off. Just don't get hostile. Good. Now, let me just rephrase that. I was joking. Yeah, you didn't sound like it. I'm sorry. I got a little tense there. A lot has been going on. A lot of things have been brought to the surface. And I really am concerned about a lot. Dark at least going to sit there and think. Yeah, she does kind of understand. A lot has really been going on, and she herself is kind of concerned with a few things that have been developing. Now, Akita's look at Dark as the way she'd say that. Dark, she does somewhat go to smile a bit, and it does kind of confuse Aki. Develop? Now, Dark, she does go to try and sweep that over the rug, or under it, expressing to Aki that it's really nothing. Anyways, if she's gonna pay attention again, can she at least ask her question again? What is it? Well, I just was curious to know about combat and a few other things in yautja culture. I wanted to know particularly strategies that focus on agility for fighting. Hmm? Agility? Yes, such as combats that restrict it. Or, well, we don't really wear a lot of armor. So we use our agility the most for combat. That is true. So I wanted to know a bit more, maybe. Develop a specialized routine or train with it. Alright, I can send you what I know. Perfect, it's fine. Alright, I gotta go see somebody. Dark turning and walking away. As Aki, she does look at that, kind of confused for a minute. Dark is that one human Deku's talked about. The one who he gave the trust to. And Aki, she does kind of see it. The woman is hardworking, and she does seem to have a rough exterior. She's always very serious about other things. However, right then and there, she didn't seem to be all that really serious about a lot. And it does kind of intrigue her. She would have to ask very soon about what that was. However, her going to somewhat turn her head back and glance towards the table, seeing that the person there is gone. Her somewhat breathing a sigh of relief, as she just go back to the report she was writing, before going to tap on the backspace because of a few things that she didn't accurately write. Now, with that being said, I do believe that is a good point to leave this part off of. And I do hope you guys enjoyed. Have an amazing day. Catch you guys in the next part.